Hello and welcome to the special edition of Game Overview to celebrate Power Rangers Week here on Heroes of Fandom. Joining me today is Power Rangers enthusiast Anthony.
Yeah, you know me. Go Power Rangers. Woo!
Today we'll be looking at Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie, the game on the Sega Genesis. Now this game is your standard beat 'em up. You and a friend go around beating up the purple goo monsters.
Ooze men, come on.
Gameplay is pretty standard. You get your basic attack, jump attack, and a special move that takes up some damage every time you use it, which was a standard in many beat 'em ups of the 90s era. Personally, I never got the point of a special move taking up damage. If you're surrounded by enemies, do you really benefit from taking damage to get rid of the bad guys with a move? In the end, you still take damage anyways. I'm sure there are cases where it's beneficial, but in all my years of playing beat 'em ups on the Super Nintendo, Arcade, and Sega Genesis, I've never really ever felt the need to resort to these.
Yeah, I didn't really play games when I was growing up, to be honest. I don't play games much at all, really, but it was fairly easy to do. I still sucked at it, but it was cool to see, all their moves and all their weapons that they could use and stuff. So, I don't know. I thought it was neat.
Another thing that's kind of basic about this game is that the Sega Genesis had a tendency to have less than satisfying beat 'em ups. They're good games, don't get me wrong. Streets of Rage 2 is one of my favorite games on the console, but it definitely had a sort of choppy feel to it, and that's seen here with the Power Rangers. In fact, many of the visual aesthetics seem to have ripped a page straight out of the Streets of Rage playbook.
Ripped one.
But regardless, it's still a solid beat 'em up and a rather enjoyable experience. You go through a handful of levels that you could get through in like an hour or so. And in terms of difficulty, it's not too overbearing. Anthony and I managed to get through this difficult mode together.
Yeah, I didn't see too much of a difference from, the normal mode to the difficult mode, but I still sucked either way, so whatever.
At least you made it to the ending. Another cool thing about this game is that in between some levels, they'll stick in the occasional Megazord fight. These play more like a fighting game. You pick one of two and you kick the monster's ass. It's pretty satisfying.
Yeah, it was cool to see the Megazords. It was cool to see both Thunder Megazords and the Ninja Megazord and like Tommy's, Tiger Zord and Falcon Zord and whatnot. Cool stuff.
The Sega Genesis was never known for having the best sounding music.
Sega!
While there are many Genesis soundtracks out there that are really good, the system generally produced a tinny buzzy sound that hasn't aged as well as some of the Super Nintendo soundtracks, which could produce better sounding pieces. The one thing that the Genesis could do better was hard rock and roll grungy sounding music, and to Power Rangers the movie, the game, it fits the tone. Almost all the tracks are based on existing Mighty Morphin Power Rangers songs from the soundtrack. And they all sound pretty faithful.
Yes, the music. I love it. Ron Wasserman does a really good job. He wrote really good songs, and I'm glad that they were able to and it's just really epic. Even Carlos liked it. You could just pop that in your car and, rock out to it if you wanted to, if you really wanted to. And I really would.
Graphics wise, yeah, it's not as colorful as some of the Super Nintendo Power Ranger games, but it's a nice looking game regardless. It gets the job done, even if the backgrounds kinda look generic and recycled. It varies from cities to caves to parks. There isn't a visual variety to give you a good time, but it's not exactly what I would consider to be an artistic masterpiece. Story-wise, the game is loosely based on the events from the movie, but it also dives into some of the episodes from the Mighty Morphin show. The first two stages of the game have you playing as the Power Rangers from the movie beating up the Ooze Men, but after a Megazord fight with the giant bugs from the movie, the game takes a sharp turn and gives us a couple flashback stages going over the introduction as Tommy as the White Ranger and the switching of the Red, Yellow, and Black Rangers. After completing those stages, we're immediately dropped into the conclusion of the movie, which felt kinda odd, rushed, and it just seemed like it was over before it even got started.
Yeah, that was weird. Going it started from the movie, or it was kind of set during the movie time, and then after that it was the introduction of Tommy as a White Ranger, and then I don't know, it was kind of weird going starting at one point and then going back, and then we're back at the end of the movie. I don't know, it was kind of weird. I was thrown off when I first played it.
And that's considering that you've watched the TV show. For me as a player, I was I know this isn't from the movie, but at the same time, I'm not sure if this happened before the movie, immediately before, or how much more, just kind of, it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was weird. It was really weird. It threw me off.
You know what would have been cool? If they had included the fight with the rock guys from the movie or the giant dinosaur skeleton.
That would be cool. I would have liked to see that. Or the Tengu warriors, like the birds.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Overall, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie The Game is a decent standard beat 'em up for a decent standard console. I give this game a heavy recommendation to anyone who owns a Sega Genesis and is a fan of beat 'em ups, and especially if you're a fan of Power Rangers.
As someone who doesn't play video games, but as someone who does like Power Rangers, I enjoyed the game. The only thing that threw me off again was the time jumps and all the skips and stuff, but you know, playing as the Rangers was cool. Getting to beat up the bad guys with Zords and your weapons and all that stuff, that's cool. Being able to choose, you know, whatever ranger you want to be, that's cool. And just having like the option to have Jason, Trini, and Zach, or Rocky, Aisha, and Adam, that was cool to have. So
I'm Pollo.
and I'm Anthony from Heroes of Fandom.
Until next time.